Good morning. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit my playlist. In the playlist I have provided all the topics so far discussed in a systematic order. So you can make use of it. Thank you very much. So today, we will continue with the fetal growth and development and trilaminar layer, formation of the trilaminar layer and derivatives which is coming out of it. So that we have discussed. So today we will discuss about some of the clinical correlations during the second and third weeks of the fetal development. That is during the time of the formation of these germ layers or three layers: endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm. Now gastrulation is a formation of the trilaminar layer. We know that the total process of a formation of this three layers, that is actually called as gastrulation, trilaminar layers of the embryo from the bilaminar layer. Previously there was only bilaminar, epiblast and hypoblast was there. Now that is converted into ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. So this particular process is called as gastrulation. The embryological damage during its early development is called as teratogenesis. So we have got the term called as teratogenesis. What do you mean by teratogenesis? Teratogenesis is nothing but it is an embryological damage which occurs during the early development. Early development means during the formation of these germ layers. So those substances which produces the same is called as teratogens. Teratogenesis and teratogens, especially the medicines which mother is taking, or some of the drugs, or some of the toxic products, or maybe sometimes the diet. So that, or some therapeutics. So that may lead to this particular problem of a teratogenesis. Now, one of the major thing is damage by the alcohol. Okay, suppose if the mother is indulging in alcohol or alcohol derivatives of any means, okay, so what happens is the midline structures are not completely formed or correctly formed. So that is one of the major thing. So that we will discuss, damage by the alcohol. So alcohol consumption is almost all any type of madhyas. So that is completely contraindicated. Okay, so at the beginning of the third week, the female is running through the 20th day of her cycle, isn't it? We have discussed previously also. She is running through the 28th day of her cycle and she is expecting the menstrual flow. So she's till now she's not knowing that she's conception has been taken place. So she don't know that. So she is pregnant. She don't know that. So she is actually expecting the menstrual flow, but ovum get fertilized and the embryo is formed by that time. And at the end of the third week, the ovum is get fertilized and the embryo is formed by that time. And we are talking about the third week. By the end of the second week or third week, even the tri layers are also formed. So she will not take any precautions. Usually this is the problem. She will not take any precautions because she is not expecting. So we should have been taken if she know that she is pregnant. So she would have been taken some care if she knows that she is pregnant, but unfortunately she is not knowing that. Okay, so therefore always we say that pregnancy should be a planned one. Okay, so intake of the alcohol during this period by the pregnant mother may be very fatal. Okay, so now from the third week to 8th week of gestation, it is always considered as most dangerous time. Third week to 8th week of gestation. 8th week means almost all 2 months. Okay, 2 months. So because this time the three layers are formed and they are proliferating. Now till so far we have only seen the formation of the tri layers. Okay, now these trilaminar layers, they will going to proliferate. Everything which is present in the body will be derived from these three layers only. Okay, ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. So they will going to form each and every structure of the body. Okay, and their proliferation is taking place between third week to 8th week of pregnancy in a very rapid way. So thereafter, after 12th week, after third month, then we will have the period of organogenesis. Now up to third week, we will have the period of embryogenesis. So what has to be derived from the ectoderm, what has to be derived from the endoderm and mesoderm, and what has to be derived from the notochord is totally genetically determined. Now this is very important. See, these cells which are proliferating, they contain the genes, they contain the chromosome, they contain the genes. Okay, there are so many genes are present in that particular chromatids which actually guide this proliferation. Okay, so we are discussing ectoderm is proliferated, endoderm is proliferated. How it is proliferating? It is actually guided by the genes which are present there. Okay, so so during this time, if the mother consumes the teratogenic drugs or teratogenic materials or alcohol, then it will cause the biggest damage to the embryo. It will cause the biggest damage to the embryo, because we have got set pattern of the genes. That genes will guide how the fetus has to proliferate, how the layers has to proliferate. Everything is fixed. But if you put any obstruction to that particular proliferation, okay, so then the blueprint itself is damaged, isn't it? When we are building, when we are building a um, structure, so there should be previously a blueprint is there. Now this is the area where the blueprint is happening, or we are preparing the blueprint, how it should be, how respiratory system should be, how GIT should be. But if there is any problem in the embryogenesis period itself, blueprint itself is done wrongly, okay, blueprint itself is having so many mistakes or errors, so then definitely the building will be of a, not of good quality. Similar things will also takes place here. Now when the mother consumes the alcohol, we will see one by one. When mother consumes the alcohol, alcohol is basically a lipid soluble material, and it is rapidly absorbed and efficiently reaches the product of conception. That means alcohol which is consumed by the mother, it is having ashukari guna, vikasi, vyavahi guna. So definitely it reaches the ectoderm and the trilaminar layers also. Okay, the cells of that also receives the same thing. Now they are going to destroy the cells which are present near the precaudal plate. So these particular lipid soluble alcohols easily get access into the cells of the conception, and the cells which are present near the precaudal plate, so they will be get destroyed, and they also destroy the area around it. Okay, so especially around the midline. Precaudal plate is always present in the midline. So especially the structures which are present in the midline, so they cells which are present in the midline, so they will be get affected. So in future what we can expect, those structures which are developing from the midline area, okay, so therefore the structures which are developing from the midline structures, like maybe vertebral column, then nearby areas, so midline structures, okay, all the midline structures, so they will be underdeveloped or they will not be developed properly. So that leads to so many congenital malformations. Okay, so this is the first thing which is happening because of alcohol. Okay, number one. So now near the midline there will be the frontal area and eyes are formed. Okay, so usually I told that midline structures are not completely formed. So near the midline, so if you look into the body, in the midline the eyes are there. Then we have got the nose. Okay, then we have got the thorax. So they are present in the midline area. In the back side we have got the vertebral column. So the problem is, suppose the midline structures are not properly formed, then you take the eyes. So there is a fixed distance between the both eyes, isn't it? Okay, so there is a fixed palpebral fissure, everything is there, interpalpebral fissure, etc. So a normal fixed distance is there between the two eyes. Now if there is no midline structures are properly formed, so this will be so close. This will be very so close, and that is called as hypotalorism. Hypotalorism. That means eyes are very closely placed, not with this much of distance, closely placed. So there will be underdevelopment of the forebrain also. Forebrain, the front portion of the brain. The forebrain is also underdeveloped. In the CNS, there will be cerebral hemispheres on the both sides, midline structure, cerebral hemispheres. These cerebral hemispheres are separated by some distance. Now, if the midline defect is there, they are not get separated. They will be close together. They will be close together. So when the midline problem is there, so there are two nearly placed structures. Okay, so जो gap एक maintain करना है वो gap नहीं रहेगा, बहुत closely रहेगा, nearly placed, and even in the brain lateral ventricles will be compressed or closed or fused together. Okay, so this baby is having so many problems. This baby is having mentally problem, that is mental retardation will be definitely there, because the alignment of the cerebral structures will not be proper, and this whole complex, and there will be placement of the structures very closely to the midline. Distance is not maintained. This whole thing is complex, is called as a holoprosencephaly. Holoprosencephaly. So this whole concept, this complex is called as holoprosencephaly. So one of the major complication of early intake of the alcohol during this particular period of embryogenesis is a holoprosencephaly, which involves so many structures of the CNS, so many structures of the face, and also elsewhere parts of the body. Okay, you can see in this picture, see the eyes are very closely placed. Okay, there is a lip problem is there. See all the three pictures, you can see hypotalorism is there, and the total this particular The head circumference is also very less. Microcephaly is there. Okay, so everything is compressed. Okay, the gap is not maintained. So that is one of the major problem with the alcohol during the embryogenesis. Another problem which occurs during this period is abnormality of the caudal end. Caudal end. So we have now talking about the cephalic end. In the cephalic end, we have seen many things in the midline area. Another problem which occurs during this time is, as we know, the trilaminar disc is more broader in the cephalic end and is narrower at the caudal end. Okay, so trilaminar layer, when you see, it's very clear in the front portion, which becomes upper port. So that is little broader than the what do you say, behind area. Okay, so now there will be some problem in the caudal narrower end of the disc. Okay, so when there is some problem in the already narrower end of the disc layers, trilaminar layers, so that particular problem is called as caudal dysgenesis. Caudal dysgenesis. You can see in this picture, the upper portion is almost all okay, but the lower end, whatever lower end and then the lower limbs, so then he will have the problem. See, the dysgenesis is there. It's not completely properly formed. So female with the diabetic mellitus, okay, with the uncontrolled sugar level, that means a mother who is having diabetes with uncontrolled sugar level, the excess sugar can damage the mesodermal cells of the caudal end and have this caudal genesis, caudal dysgenesis. So caudal dysgenesis is quite common in those mother with the diabetes. Okay, diabetic mother, because they have got uncontrolled sugar level, so this excess sugar can damage the mesodermal layers, and as a result the caudal end is not properly formed, and the fetus may result with the caudal dysgenesis, and there will be underdevelopment of the caudal mesoderm also. The structure which are derived from the mesoderm of the caudal ends, so they will get affected. See, okay, so usually actually mesoderm is divided into three parts. One is the medialmost part, then the lateralmost part, and then the intermediate part. Okay, so from these three parts, different types of structures will derive later. The lower limbs are pulled out of the mesoderm structures, and the structures will come out. And if the caudal end is not developed properly due to damage, the both lower limbs may be fused sometime, as we can see in this picture. The lower limbs may be fused sometime. Okay, so or hypoplasia may be there of the lower limbs, and also vertebral columns will be also abnormal. Vertebral columns will also become abnormal. So these are the two important problems that we have to always remember in the embryogenetic period. Number one is a holoprosencephaly, and another one is a caudal dysgenesis or hypoplasia. Now, the renal structures are also not formed, leading to the renal agenesis, because the lower portion we also have the formation of the renal structures. So if there is abnormality of the caudal end is there in the beginning itself, then the renal structures are also not formed, leading to the renal agenesis. The intermediate mesoderm leads to the urogenital tissues. Now I told that mesoderm is divided into three parts: lateral, middle, and intermediate. From the intermediate mesoderm, which is present in the mesoderm, so we have got a derivation of a urogenital tissues. Okay, so now that particular intermediate mesoderm, if it is get damaged due to some of the problems, then all the urogenital organs will not be completely formed, and we have got a lot of genital abnormalities. Okay, so there may be imperforate anus. Imperforate anus is one of the important thing. So problem which includes the lower limb is, okay, so that means in case of caudal dysgenesis, we have got a lot of problem. Number one is problem related to the lower limb. It may be fused, it may be hypoplastic, or there may be vertebral problems. There may be renal problems. There may be anal imperforation. Okay, imperforated anus, which is commonly seen sometimes. So all these things are totally called as caudal dysgenesis or syringomyelia. Syringomyelia we will see later, it's a different issue. So all these things are called as a caudal dysgenesis, and even syringomyelia is also one of these problems. Syringomyelia also occur because of this caudal dysgenesis. Now we have got another abnormality, which is actually from the caudal end. The endoderm in the trilaminar disc, in the ventral part, it contains the cilia. This is very important. I think that we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching me. And please don't forget to subscribe my channel, and also please give your valuable comments. Thank you very much.